Hi, this is me in my library, and I was reading James Bond book because I wanted to watch a James Bond movie, and so I was reading by Ian Fleming, Her Majesty's Secret Service. I gave Sarah a rundown of this book. These books are delightful, and it's from a time of pulp fiction where people just read a lot, and they have like these archetypical fantasies. These are like male fantasies, like wishful thinking, and so a lot of what are in these books would be interpreted as sexism today, but it's really not written from that standpoint. It's really written like with this senseless kid-like wonder. I started narrating the story events of the first 40 pages, and I was thinking about recording it because it was kind of funny. Sarah was giggling. But I was just going to now describe Her Majesty's Secret Service, the first 40 pages. So the story begins. James Bond is on a beach stalking a hot girl. And he's like, her name's Tracy. He's in a bunker, and he's intently stalking her. And there are two guys behind him that are mafia people. And so it gets confusing because it kind of goes back, and he has like these recountings of things, and so he's trying to recount what the last 24 hours were, and then it goes back, and James Bond is upset with the Majesty's Secret Service. He's all, this is not fair, this sucks, we have terrible benefits, there's no 401k, and so I'm going to resign. And he writes this really like his letter about how terrible it is, and then he thinks about the letter, and he's like, I'm being a little bit pompous, but I really need to resign. And he talks about how bad the benefits are. And so he remembers the first time he met this girl, Tracy. And what happens is that she zooms past him in his car, because as he's thinking about his resignation letter, he's in his like super hot car, which is a benefit for working for Her Majesty's Secret Service. So already we have this contradiction, right? It's so terrible to work for, but you got this amazing car, right? And she zooms by, and James Bond's like, wow, only hot chicks drive in really fast cars. This girl's really hot, and the fact that she drove past me makes her ultra cool. So I need to street race her. So James Bond starts street racing with this girl, and they're in France, and they're street racing, and then he can't beat her. He's like shocked. He actually uses the special features on his Rolls Royce, and he's like, almost ruining the car, but she loses him, and he's like, damn. And so like he's like, well, I'm just going to continue doing what I was going to do because my benefits suck for Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'm going to go to Casino Royale. And so the thing with Casino Royale is that A, James Bond likes to gamble, but B, as part of his benefits, they just give him $1 million in francs to do what he wants to with it. And so he's all, well, I guess I'll just go and gamble with the $1 million they let me play with. And so he's gambling with his $1 million, and he racks it up to $4 million. Now the thing with his crappy benefits with Her Majesty's Secret Services is that if he actually makes any money with the money that he's given, that he can keep the extra. And so like now he's a millionaire. And so then he sees this girl again. And he's, oh my God, it's this girl. She's amazing, whatever. And she gambles, and she loses really big. And he has like $4 million. He's like, I'm on top of the world. But she's over there sitting in the corner. It's like, oh crap, I lost a couple $1 million. What do I do? And James Bond realizes that she has no money to cover it. And he's like, oh man, this is going to ruin her. And then some idea comes in his head. Da 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 da. I can be a hero. And so he says, oh, we're gaming together. We're part of the same thing. I'll pay her thing. And she walks away. She looks at him, and she walks away. And then so James Bond says, well, you know what? I've had a good night gambling. I think I can win it back. But he changes his gambling strategy. Instead of being like the conservative gambling strategy, he decides to go for it because he wants to earn 2 million more francs. What he does is that he loses the 2 million that he won. So he still has the 1 million that he started with, but the 4 million that he won is gone. And he's like, oh crap, I'm not going to do anymore. So he walks off and he finds the girl, and the girls are like, huh, thanks for helping me. And James is like, yeah, that's what I do. And he's, oh, nice to meet you. And then they start talking about the race. He's like, I met you on the highway, and I thought that you were like so amazing then. But if I really tried, you'd never beat me in a race. And then the girl was like, no, I wouldn't beat you. And James is like, oh, there's no way. Why? And she's like, because you care about living, and I want to die. So she pulled like a full emo card on James. And James is like, whoa, is she crazy? But she's still hot. And then the girl just like abruptly changes the storyline, and she's like, well, you saved me from indignity, so I guess you can have your reward. You can come upstairs and do what you want with me. And James Bond is like, oh yeah, I can do what I want. Let's go upstairs. And she's like, stops him, and she's like, no, I go upstairs first. And James is like, okay. And so she goes upstairs first. James goes to the room. The girl tells him again, and her name is Teresa. And I think I can't remember what they abbreviated for, but Teresa. And so it goes into great detail, like talking about like she's underneath the covers, and she's showing him her bedroom eyes, and he's like, "Wow, if this was any other chick, I'd know what that means. But because she talked about killing herself, I don't know, she's crazy." And so like he walks over, and she's all like, "You can do whatever you want with me. You saved me from the indignity of losing all sorts of money." And so James walks over to a real cool guy and he puts his hand on her breast, which is I just thought was funny. It's like, and he's like, "No worries, I'm there for you if you need me." And so they do the hoopty dance, and after the hoopty dance, she's like, "That's the best I ever had." And James is like thinking to himself, "She's a bit more experienced than what I thought. She had to have done this before." And then he walks up, and she's like getting all sleepy, and she's like, "We have to do this again." She drifts off into a nap, and James is walking around the room, smoking his cigarette, drinking he's doing his cool guy stuff, his cool guy spy stuff, drinking his glass of liquor, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm the man." And so then James has round two with this girl, and round two is like, "Wow, this is even better, man." And she's like into it, like she's like showing that she really digs him. And so then he falls asleep, and they wake up in the morning, and he's like thinking all the morning after stuff. He's like, "Well, we're together now. She was really hot. I don't know if she's crazy, but I want to do this again. Let's see if we can spend a day on the town." And she's like, "Get out! You sucked in bed. You're terrible." And James is like, she has to be just saying this. He's like, "No, please." And then she says, "Go to hell." And James is like, "You should go to hell? Well, fine, forget you then." And he walks out, and "I'll never talk to you again." Then he has like a second thought, and he's like, wait a minute, that was probably a bad idea. And then he starts like following her. Like he's like, "I'm a super spy. She's going to hurt herself, so I follow her." And then this leads us to the start of the book, where she's on the beach. And so James Bond is watching her the whole day on the beach. There are these two crazy thug guys behind him that he thinks are killers. He doesn't know why they're there. And then as the sun is setting, she's walking out into the ocean. He's like, "She's going to drown herself. I can't let her drown herself." That's what they call her, is Terry, short for Teresa. And so Terry goes out to the beach. She's walking into the water, and James is like, "No, don't do it. Don't kill yourself. I love you." But he doesn't say that. He's just like, "I'm really concerned about you." Then the thugs approach him, and the thugs are like, "We come for you. You will follow us." And James is like, "Snap. I could pull out my gun and kill people. I have a knife hidden away. I'll pocket that. But I don't know what to do, because if I go like full super spy, Terry might get killed. And for the good of this lady who just randomly slept with me, lost $2 million at a bank, at a casino, and talked to me about killing herself, was street racing, not without any regard, but she beat me in a street race, which makes her super hot. But this chick, she could die. So I need to play it cool." And so he gives him the gun. He's like protective of her. He gives her her coat. And they lead him on a boat, and they go like ricketing off into the ocean to like the secret location. When they get to the secret location, more thugs are there. And it's funny because all the thugs are like raincoats. It's like Paddington the Bear, like these people in raincoats in the middle of like in the French Riviera. They're, "I'm in my raincoat." And everybody else is in like bikinis and stuff, and like in like swimwear, and it's warm. And so it's a little bit odd, but we're standing out a little bit. And so they lead him to this area, and they put him in this room, and James Bond's like, "Ha, I got my knife." And so he's like thinking, this is my one chance, now or never. And he actually is preparing to attack whoever comes in the door they put him with. And there's a calendar. It's like an office space. There's a calendar on the wall, and this guy comes in, right? And this sharp-looking guy, the way they describe him, I swear, is like Derek Zoolander. He's like Jason Momoa with Derek Zoolander, which is really, really funny to me. And so this guy comes in with this great smile, and James is like, "I should kill him because he could kill me. They've kidnapped me and brought me to this place. But that man's smile, it's so engaging. I could never kill a man with a smile like that." And actually, the description that Ian Fleming uses, which I thought was fucking hilarious, was that Ian Fleming talks about that his smile was such that he would just as soon kill Terry. He killed a girl that he loves, that he's doing all this stuff for. before he would kill this guy, because this guy had an award-winning smile. I don't know if it was Colgate, whatever, like he's like a movie star. He's like, ha, he cast Blue Steel, and it was like James is mesmerized. But James still wants to show that he's a badass, and so they start talking about the date, and they're saying it's September 15th, and James throws his knife just to show him, like, I could have killed you, bro. And it lands on the September 15th. Then he pulls it out, and then they're like, hey, you guys want to... The mafia guy with the award-winning smile, he's like, hey, do you want to talk, and we'll have drinks and stuff and be bros? And James like, yeah, let's be bros. And then you can explain what's going on. And so as they're doing their bro thing, the guy's all, I have a confession to make. I'm with the mafia. And Terry, she's my daughter. And James, I need you to help. And that was the first 40 pages of... On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's pretty awesome. I mean, especially if you take it with a grain of salt. Like when I was telling Sarah the narrative, she's like, it's kind of sexist. But it's kind of funny and awesome. I think that these sorts of things, times have changed, and I think it was written with innocence. It's fiction. If people are assholes in real life, it's one thing. And so fantasy and fiction are places where you can indulge in these crazy ideas, and the way James Bond does it is he literally reminds me of a middle schooler. He reminds me of a middle schooler with a bubble pipe and, thinking he's on top of the world, got a really cool car, got a really cool job. It's kind of awesome. Yeah, so that was it.